I'm inclined to believe it, even though I haven't seen him myself.
How come?
After our poor Mary went to her rest, we used some of the money he'd paid us to put a cross up by the roadside. And lately, there's been wreaths of comfrey turning up next to it. I don't take them there, nor my husband neither.
You think Simon does?
Who knows? Maybe it's a miracle. I could believe anything. But there's not been fresh ones for a while, so perhaps...
I see. Can you tell me where that...
Certainly. There are settling tanks for the mines to the west of Skalitz. On the hill above them in the woods, there are several paths. Mary's Cross is by one of them, close to the brook.
All right. I'll be going.
Very good, then. And if you do find him, let him know that we have no hard feelings.
I'll tell him. This must be that cross. Mary's mother was right. Someone did lay flowers here recently. I should have a look around and see if there's comfrey growing anywhere nearby.
Hey, you! What are you doing here?
I've come for the priest. Simon.
There's no one here called that.
There is. Do you take me for a fool?
All right. Maybe there is someone here.
I don't know.
What do you want about?
He is. But he's also a warlock. A master of...
No, but...
Exactly. So if you don't want your eyes to boil up from the inside, your nose to turn into a twisted root, and your tongue into a toad...
No, of course, no!
No ifs, no buts.
Fine, fine.
Oh, thank you, my son. I was beginning to fear I'd never get out of here alive.
They didn't look dangerous. The only thing...
I know, poor fools. But I was afraid they'd leave me here. And to whom do I owe my salvation?
My name's Henry. You may remember me. I'm the son of the Skalitz blacksmith.
Your face does seem familiar. But listen, Henry, I can't help feeling you didn't stumble across me by...
It's true.
Me?
I need you to go back to St. James. The folk there need spiritual guidance. Skalitz has a burned-out shell, and many have died in St. James.
I understand, but I have to disappoint you. I gave up...
I know your story, Father.
Then you know what I'm guilty of.
Yes, and I don't want to try to make light of it. Your conscience is your own affair, but I know that deep down you're a good man.
You don't know what you're saying. You don't know me.
But I know what you did. Many priests break God's commandments willy-nilly and aren't the least ashamed.
That doesn't absolve me of my sins. God's law is set, no matter how often it's violated.
You're certainly right, but the people need you. And forgive me for being blunt, but while you can leave the presbytery if you choose, it doesn't absolve you of your duty to Christian folk.
But I'm a sinner. I'm not fit to guide anyone. I'm unworthy to do so.
Priests, bishops, monks, abbots, they're all sinners. Even the Holy Father himself is a sinner. You've done your penance, and now your people need you.
You're probably right. It is my duty. At least for a time, until they find...
I don't think I'll find anyone better in a hurry.
All right. I'll take what I can carry and go...
Thank you. Your
Good health to you.
I found you a priest.
Really?
The former parish priest of St. James. I persuaded him to return to live among you.
So you've...
Yes. He was roaming the woods around.
Thank God. You'll see. Once there's a priest, people will soon be back.
I hope so.
I've put together a small sum for a new piece. So I thought a portion should definitely go to you, as a reward.
Thanks. That'll come in handy.
You're welcome. The main thing is, we'll have a man of God here with us.
So, farewell to you. And I hope he gets here soon. Just don't you let him run off again.
I'll keep an eye on him myself. Godspeed to you, Henry.
Good day to you.
I'd like to improve my swordsmanship.
Certainly.
I'd like to practice the basics.
All right. Now, pay close attention.
Can you teach me how to defend myself?
Certainly.
I'd like to practice.
All right.
Isn't that quite a lot? Since it's you.
I'd almost...
Agreed.
Jesus Christ, be...
Can we trade?
If you've got...
Can we do something about...
Well...
Satisfied?
I'd almost... Forget it.
Can we trade?
If you've got...
Can we do something about... Is this enough?
We're getting there.
I'll...
God be with you.
Wonder what Teresa's doing now. I could stop by and see. Last time.
Move along, citizens. Move along. There's nothing to see here.
That's what you call nothing to see. I'd like to know what something to see looks like.
By the keys of St. Peter, this is all I need. We'll have to send word to Sir Hanush.
That might not be necessary.
Who are you?
I'm Henry of Skalitz, in the service of Hanush's Captain Bernard. I'm investigating the attack at Neuhof, and I think this could be related.
Well, I'm the bailiff of Auschwitz. And I say we don't want any of that kind of trouble around here. What makes you think this has anything to do with Neuhof?
One of the folk at the stud farm recognized someone from Auschwitz among the bandits.
We have no bandits or murderers around here.
Really? They say he had a limp?
Shit. Well, allow me to introduce you to Limpy Lubosh. Or all that's left of him.
Sacre. Nothing's ever easy. I'll have to take a look around and ask a few more questions, if that's all right with you.
You can take this mess off my hands and welcome to it. As for what else there is to find out, I don't know. But look and ask all you like.
When did you find the body?
Just now, and nobody saw or heard anything. I don't know how they could gut him like that without some...
Who was Limpy Lu...
A poor crofter and a scoundrel. Can't say I'm too surprised what happened. He kept company with all sorts of vermin. He was always getting into some kind of trouble. Punch-ups in the tavern and what have you.
How come he limped?
He got that from some villainy or brawl a long time ago.
Has he been up to anything
I don't know. The last few days he didn't go anywhere. He was home the whole time. But he always kept everyone in the village at arm's length.
Did he have any kith or kin in the village?
None. A loner he was. I don't know the last time I saw him with anyone.
Do you happen to know where he was on the night of the Neuhof raid?
I've no idea. He kept his distance from other folk, so you never knew if he was away or...
Another thing about Lube.
Jesus Christ be...
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof, and now a murder here as well.
I don't know nothing about it.
That man Lubosh who was murdered.
I didn't really know him. He kept to himself, even in the tavern.
Have you noticed anything?
Come to think of it, he was in church yesterday. He was even talking to the priest and went to confession. I was wondering what he was up to take to the faith all of a sudden.
Do you know what Lubosh was?
I was coming from the tavern very late that night, and I caught a glimpse of someone entering the village. He looked like he was in a hurry. It was only a shadow against the sky.
Do you know anyone Lubosh used to spend time with? Relatives or friends?
Not with anyone from the village. He used to sit in the tavern next to us sometimes, but he never said much.
That's all. Is there anything suspicious?
Indeed there is. Just last night, Father Godwin was here, calling fire and brimstone down on old Gertrude, the herb woman. He's not one to make a fuss over some trifle either. Oh, and another thing. Around here, you should hear about what Vashek the groom has been up to at the stables. When the head groom told the lads here, they fell off their seats laughing.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof, and now a
I don't know how I can help you.
Have you noticed anything?
There wasn't sight or sound of him for a long time, and then yesterday he turned up at the church and even talked to the parish priest. I never saw him do that before. Probably.
Do you know what Lubosh...
I don't think he was home.
Do you know who Lubosh used to...
As far as I know,
Who was this Lubosh?
you could see at first glance he was no...
That's all. I've come in the name...
Ask away.
Do you know who Lubosh...
He was always a loner. Except lately he started talking.
Have you noticed any...
The only thing seemed suspicious was how a rogue like him suddenly started going to church.
Do you know what...
What do I care about that scoundrel?
That's all.
Damn!
Good day to you.
Any work going?
Enough for a dozen men. You could take the place of that useless stable hand Vashek for...
What happened? Did he...
Just found out that he lost our Pie.
Lost it where?
No, Pie was our fastest stallion.
Oh. Well, that's bad news. How did Vashek manage to lose him?
He fell, banged his head, and the horse bolted. Can you fathom it? A stable hand falling off a horse. And then Pie took off a...
Well, I can't take Vashek's job, but I...
That would be nice of you. If there's anything you need to know, ask that fool. I was too livid to even...
Right. I've come in the name of...
Of course.
Do you know any...
He was a loner. He didn't even...
Have you noticed...
Well, now I think of it, I hadn't seen him around for a while.
Do you know what Lubosh...
Not a
That's all.
Good health to you.
How's the head?
So even strangers know my shame. Come on, then. Come and take it.
I'm not here to mock.
So what is it you want?
I promised the head groom that I'd look...
Well, good luck with that. I've been searching half the day. Although I have been seeing double ever since that bang on the head. So it's possible
Can you describe...
long face.
You did hit your head hard, didn't you?
Yes? Why?
I asked you to describe Pi.
Sorry, he's a dappled grey, a stallion, and he's really fast. Though that won't help.
Quite the opposite. Where did you fall?
Just south of here, between the fields and the woods, there's a crossroads where 4 paths meet. It was around
4 paths. So we could have gone anywhere.
Now you see my...
When was that?
In the morning. Then I staggered about for a while, feeling as rough as a boar's ass. I was glad to stagger back here.
Fine, I'll go and look.
Thanks. If you find him, the groom might go easier.
Well?
Pies used to take in the bridal ways, so I'd keep to those.
That's useful. Thanks.
Jesus Christ be praised.
I've come in the name of Sir
Of course.
That's all. I'd like to learn to...
You? You don't look like the making. Bear in mind, it won't be all that easy. You'll need plenty of time and a few groschen for my trouble.
All right. I don't want to waste time. We can get started.
Very well. I will require some groschen from you, though, and set aside at least a couple of days so I can put you through your paces.
Here are your groschen.
Then we may as well start. He did break his vow, but better than to dishonor it here. May he follow his heart. Wake up, lad. It's time we were getting on. So, let's see you read a bit. There's a book here on the table. Try to read it.
Will I manage?
You ought to be able to. It's a simple text. Come back once you've worked your way through it.
Good health to you.
I've read the book.
Wonderful. So tell me.
There was something about some fellow and a goose.
Ah, well, the main thing is you've managed to read the book. The rest is just practice. Only through a careful reading will you uncover the real meaning. Like I told you, books are valuable.
Does that mean that I can read?
Yes, you have the foundation. Remember, my boy, the pen is mightier than the sword. To fully learn your way around words will take a lot. Now we'll move on to the second lesson, which will be much harder. Many books are written in Latin, the language of erudite. There's a book on the table with some text. Read it and then come back.
I only just managed the fable about the goose, and now you're asking me to tackle Latin.
You're a clever... What is it?
I read the page.
So tell me, this... Good heavens! Don't tell me you haven't had lessons before. Excellent. Well,
Thank you. I see you know how to... I wouldn't have expected that from...
With a stick. I practice with a stick. Reminder of my youth and days gone by, and it helps keep...
Do you have any work?
My dear lad, I have more worries than I can bear. I have to deal with a local...
A witch?
The herb woman, old Gertrude. That devious hag who will stoop to anything. Like...
Oh, don't tell me. The cows are giving blood instead of milk, and babies are being...
This is no laughing matter. Gertrude isn't evil. She just has peculiar ideas about what's good for people. A little bird told me she incited some Ujet's women to witch...
And what's the problem?
As long as herb women stick to giving psychic to folk and bloated cows, assisting in childbirth, or burning incense in bedrooms to help with sleep, then nothing at all. But this is sacrilege, and it's unsafe. All sorts of molds and lichens and poisonous plants and other foul things go into those concoctions. I'd hate to see her poison some poor...
A little bird.
You know how good people are at seeing the splinter in another's eye and not the beam in their...
In other words, what do you want me to do?
I want you to go and see her and find out what she's been up to. I know she lives in fear of the Holy Church, so tell her I sent you. That will make her talk and think twice about encouraging witchcraft. If you learn that she truly did involve folk in some foolishness, find out all you can and...
Consider it done.
Good. And never fear. I'm a man who always pays his debts.
My respects to you.
The blessings of our good Lord be with you, Father. I'm here in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa, investigating the massacre at Neuhof, which seems to be connected to a murder here. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish, boy. I hope this nasty business will be cleared up quickly.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
Bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think he was such a bad person.
Did you know Lubosh?
Bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow.
Did you notice anything?
My child, all sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently. People like Lubosh don't know what to do about it, and sometimes they do.
That's really not a lot of help to me.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhoff was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know, and I'd like to help.
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to tell you.
Vows more important than catching dangerous murderers?
There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is the sanctity of the confessional.
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can make an exception.
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances. And
For heaven's sake, Father, can you really look me in the eye and tell me that, when you know you may be condemning innocent people to death?
I can, because if I broke that vow, the consequences would be much worse than if I didn't. Maybe not immediately, but one day. The mills of God.
Father, Lubosh was my only lead to the Neuhoff raiders. Only he could tell me who was responsible for that massacre. If I don't find out who it was, it will probably happen again. Surely you wouldn't want that.
I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the confessional. I'll tell you what. Give me some time and I'll try to think up some way of helping you. Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a cup of...
All right.
What the hell?
Be a bit more careful.
Are you serious?
How...
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything. But maybe we can work something. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I...
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh. I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Neuhof? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that of a man of the cloth.
You know what they say. The Lord moves in mysterious ways.
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
Here.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Ujitz isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. The tongue-lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison, and nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs, while Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
What do you think of this Jan?
He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. And they're calling for change. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up and the church will be shaken to its very foundations.
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been more... it's getting quite late.
What do you suppose? We have a drink.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł desnej smutek, do dnie i rano utek, niech już może zimaj sad, do wczera żylne staje prak, už se jí bojí svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě jí kůži, nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požadem si huby jako poslední den. Budeme se bávit, ano rada slávy a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem, tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den, tak nalej mi hned, ať točí se svět.
Enough of this!
Bailiff, come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Wow. You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
Come here, lily liver. Gone weak at the knees, have you?
So, my dear, wouldn't you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dears. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're a buffoon.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath. And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast! Get up! Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh, shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look, from what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it if you stopped gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
So all at once the confession...
Don't mock me!
Well, all right. But I can't make...
No, neither can...
What do you want me to do, exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that no need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubosh.
Christ almighty.
Wonderful. Come on then, what's the holdup? We've no time. Are you serious?
Never show up. The swill pole.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait. Look at him.
Mother of God, any minute now we'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, I would like to talk to you about our Holy Mother Church and what iniquities it's declining into.
That whelp wants to preach about the church.
Creation has given to every man the power by which he might rule the whole world. But that power does not give him the right to rule. That right belongs to God alone. It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, cumens, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame! Shame upon them!
It is the custom of the gluttonous prelates and monks to preach against sin. But what do they know of us ordinary folk? Let us remember the marriage at Cana, where our Lord Jesus Christ himself feasted with the other guests and drank his fill. And when the wine was gone, he performed a miracle and created more. He, whose companions were poor travellers, simple folk, prostitutes and troublemakers, performed a miracle so the feast could continue.
Now that's the kind of sermon I like to hear.
No, brothers and sisters. Jesus did not condemn alcohol. Drink to lighten the cross you bear in this vale of tears, but not with such abandon that you cannot keep holy the Sabbath. For there should be moderation in all things, and it is not drinking itself that is sinful, but intemperance and beastly indulgence.
He's right.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about. and whose absolution they promise if you pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates. Away with them.
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
Hear my words then. The church is corrupt, and her servants seek their own gain more than the salvation of your souls. A priest who fornicates and indulges in gluttony and intoxication is no priest at all. You would do better to be your own priests, each and every one of you, for you have no need for such Pharisees and hypocrites to attain salvation.
Yes! Down with the hypocrites! Down with Godwin!
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
Have you no shame, you pair of buffoons? I'll be writing to the bishop of this. For shame.
Utterly blasphemous.
Can you believe such behavior? For men of the cloth to get drunk as pigs in church?
So, is our deal still on? Are you pulling my fucking pizzle? I couldn't have done worse myself if I'd puked on the altar.
Well, I'm no preacher.
Yeah, I noticed. And I wasn't the only one.
You can't be serious. After all that.
All what? All you making a complete hash of my sermon? You were supposed to help, not get me into even more trouble. Now I'll have the bishop on my back and all the villagers. Just leave. I need to pull myself together.
And what am I supposed to do?
Find someone else to help you.
Greetings, brothers and sisters in Christ. I am here to tell you how the once great mother of all Christians is losing her
That whelp wants to preach about the church.
Creation has given to It is the accursed whelp. When dogs are they show you want to baptize.
For shame!
It is the custom. Let us remember he.
Now that's the kind of...
No, for there should be.
He's right!
Enough about. What if the devil. And what about those? They played. Look to your.
Down with the...
We're fortunate to have our good Father God.
I say to you, in the words of Jan Hus, he who knows much, let each speak as much as he knows, and he who knows nothing, let him at least teach his neighbour one virtuous deed by setting him good example and refraining. And that applies both to priests.
That's his conclusion.
That is all I heard.
Have you no shame, you pair of buffoons? I'll be writing to the bishop of this.
Hey! What the hell are you doing? What's the matter with you?
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the...
Boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is a...
He's right.
It is the corruption of God, the accursed whelp. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of... They show no mercy. You want to baptize a child?
For shame.
And such sins, those who should lead with reason, who should shun debauchery. Therefore the apostle says that a bishop...
He's talking about Godwin. For sure he's...
Enough about sin. What if... And what about those? They play dice. Look to your conscience.
Down with the pre...
We're fortunate to have our good Father...
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Oi! All honor to Godwin!
That is all I heard.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that huss.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a silver tongue.
I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague, and he told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony and fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out?
Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.
So my wife's brother finally paid back the dozen groschen That's just what I said to him. How did he take that? He took it, well, like a man. It was the wife that flew into a rage, called me a cunt after.
Look where you're going. If
Hey,
you're up to no
hey,
good, you better think
what
twice.
are you playing at here? God be with you.
I'd like to discuss the Satisfied?
Well, a little.
Satisfied?
I'd almost shake.
Oh, that's a...
Yow! Learn how to ride a horse, idiot!